We were talking a little earlier about just the last two Big 12 tournaments for you guys, one canceled and then one you had to pull out of.
Yeah, that's right. I hadn't even thought about back to back.
Right?
Yeah.
And I know you enjoy this event. Does that make it even more fun to look forward to this week?
I'm probably looking as forward to this one as I have any of them. In large part because we tied. I've said many times, well, whenever we've tied, I've always said, let's go to the tournament and try to figure this out. So that would be fun to me. We'd have to play very well to even have a chance to do that. But I 2 years ago we were playing probably the best ball of anybody, and last year we were playing pretty darn well. And we were so good defensively for a stretch. I think we held OU to like 15 at halftime, something like that. And then we can't play Texas, and that would have been a fun game to play because they had beaten us twice. I'm excited. I think our players are as well.
What is at stake? I mean, other than that,
I don't think there's really much at stake. I think it's a pride deal and maybe a seed line or two. But other than that, I don't really see that much at stake, to be honest with you. It's one of the few events that you can win, and it's a big deal for all of about maybe 20 hours, 24 hours, and after that, it doesn't even matter anymore. It matters all about getting ready for the next one. So, but it's a prideful event. There's no doubt about that.
You don't sell out to win it then, or anything like that?
I think that when you play on a Saturday and your next game is not until Thursday or Friday, I think you sell out to try to win. I do think you do that. I don't think you sell out to try to get to the finals. I don't think you sell out to play guys that are injured. I don't think you sell out in that way. But if you're saying, would you consider resting a guy on a Saturday and you don't play again on Thursday or Friday, I would say absolutely not.
Does it feel like you're on the one line now? You're trying to hold on to
No, it doesn't.
trying to get to one?
I don't think that I personally, the way I look at it, and I haven't studied it as hard as some, but our resume is pretty good. I think we're 10-5 against quad ones, and I think we're 7-1 against quad twos, if I'm not mistaken. Is that right, guys?
11, right?
Huh?
Isn't it
11 quad ones now. So maybe after Texas is 11. So that make us probably 6-1 in quad twos. But anyway, it's like 17 and 6. I think 23 of your 31 games are against really good competition. 30 is good. But I actually believe that if you're just looking at that being a goal, which it's not, but if you were saying that it'd be nice to be a 1 seed for a lot of different reasons, one, publicity and all the things that go along with that. Gonzaga and Arizona's got it locked up. You would think that Baylor would be ahead of us, and the only way that we could pass them was if we went further in the tournament. And then if we don't win it, you would think that a team, Kentucky, Auburn, could Villanova run the table and get one. You would think that those teams would have an opportunity to jump us for sure. So we better win the tournament in order to get a 1 seed. That's how I look at this.
You mentioned tournament.
Well, I think the whole thing is he hasn't had a back-to-back yet this year, where we played, and then I guess in Orlando he did, but since the season's really gotten into it, where we played and the next day he had to go hard. I don't think we've had one of those days. We've had maybe a day where we did a walkthrough the next day or whatnot. So we practiced yesterday and he participated in half court some. We're not going to practice today. We're just going to walk through, and then we'll practice tomorrow, and he'll participate in that. So, Wednesday, Thursday, those are 2 pretty good days. And then I wouldn't be surprised if Friday may be limited, if we're fortunate enough to win on Thursday. But we're certainly not going to put him out there and risk the next week. So, and I think that's what Matt was probably alluding to earlier. But but I anticipate if we're fortunate enough to play him playing, I just don't know how limited it'll be.
Everyone else, health-wise, I know you said on Hawk Talk that Remy looked pretty good.
Yeah, he looked better yesterday than I've seen him. And he told me he felt good. So I do think, Bobby's obviously out, but David right now would be our biggest concern. And it's not concern of him not playing, it's concern of him being not being sore when he does play.
I think Remy can still be a big factor for you guys come postseason.
Yeah, I think it can be a big factor. Yeah, we're set with who we're starting. So that's not going to change. But I do think that Remy can be a factor, especially with different teams and lineups and those sorts of things. One thing that's become pretty evident in some ways, like Texas Tech, for instance, Remy and Juan together is tough because Ball is their two guard and he's 6'6", so there's some things like that. But I think Remy can certainly play a huge role down the stretch.
You spoke a lot about Ochai and how he's passed the day that now being that player of the year. When you see all these accolades rolling, knowing it's a team sport, you just got to be really proud of him. Just how proud of you to see him give all the accolades that he's getting.
Well, I think we're just starting to see it. I think he was, Big 12 Player of the Year, obviously, and that should have been unanimous by everybody. And then Sporting News, who I believe is one of the four biggest All-American type teams, that the Riders and then ABC, and of course AP, I think would probably be the biggest. But to get first team on that, and at worst case scenario, he's a second teamer on all of them. I'm happy for him. He deserves all the accolades he's getting. But he also doesn't need to put pressure on himself because he's getting the accolades. Now he's got to play at even a higher level. So there's a little bit of a balance in there that sometimes you don't win things like that, and there's a chip on your shoulder, and it kind of drives you. And sometimes you do win things, and that drives you even more. But he's got to find that happy medium where he's as turned up as he's ever been, but still as relaxed as he's ever been. And against Texas, I think that he was too excited for senior day, to be honest with you. So that was probably a good lesson for him to learn before he get in the postseason.
Do you think he is that guy that can kind of take those lessons that he had in Texas game?
Oh yeah, no question. I think he can. He's incredibly bright and caring, and he would do anything to. He's worked too hard not to try to exercise and process everything that gives him and us the best chance to win moving forward.
He made a big jump in high school from junior to senior year just to get on big schools like KU's radar. Do you equate that to the jump he's made in college from junior to senior year?
Yeah, I would. I actually thought last year he was a draft pick after the season. I thought he's a draft pick that really hadn't figured it all out yet. And I'm not saying he's totally figured it out now, but now I think he's a potential lottery pick that has figured stuff out a lot better. So he's had a remarkable year. I don't know that he's had a Frank senior year, but he certainly had Devontae type senior year. And as we all know, that was pretty special what Devontae did.
Remember he first saw him when he first came on your radar?
Oh yeah. I went to watch him in high school one night after Norman told me he thought the kid was pretty good. Norm will take credit for it now, but back then it was like, yeah, we should watch him, but now Norm said, no, you need to go watch him because we need him. That I don't know that I totally agree with exactly how the story went, but no, I went and watched him, and I do remember thinking, and I do remember this. I can't remember what I ate yesterday, but I can remember this. Graceful, moves well, explosive, put it down 2 dribbles either direction, good form on a shot, smiled all the time. He just had, the things that would be the makings of what could potentially become a good player, a really good player. And so it didn't take long to figure out that he would be good for us.
Guys like him who are here and helping you ask for an adaptation, how much can that trickle down to some of the younger guys who are in the team now and look at him and say, well, he did it, why can't I do it?
Well, I think he's a great role model for a lot of people that as a youngster, and sometimes youngsters' families, you want to put life in fast forward as opposed to slow motion. And there's many times that it's better off to slow it down than it is to speed it up. And so I think he'll be a great example of that. But just so you know, if he was ready last year, he would have gone. If he was ready as a sophomore, he would have gone. I think the lesson is that you go when you're ready. You don't have to, put a square peg in a round hole. It will fit eventually if you're good enough. And I think that's what he did best, was he and his family, waited until he's good enough. But if he'd been good enough after his sophomore year, he should have left. He just wasn't yet. So, a lot of people say, well, it took him 4 years. Well, yeah, because he wasn't a pro after 2 years. He wasn't a pro after 3 years. He was a pro after 4 years. And usually guys that are ranked 300 coming out of high school aren't usually the guys they project to be pros after 1 year. So, a Darrell Arthur would be a totally different story. So,
what do you make of that 8-9 game and having to wait for it also?
I do think there's some advantages not to be the 1 seed in that regard. The advantage would be, will they play one night, turn around, play the next afternoon? That would be the advantage. But we'll be playing a team that's playing with house money. K-State, to me, has played so much better than the record. I don't know what they are in games of 5 point or less, but they've been right there to win so many games. And so a 6-12 team could easily be a 10-8, 11-17. I do believe that. So, we were one of the wins that they could easily gotten. So, and West Virginia, to me, is, Hugs always comes there and plays, seems like to me, always plays well. So that'll be a good first game. It'll be competitive, and it'll be a good first game. And certainly it'll be a hard game, whoever we draw.
What do you make of
Well, I said that I'm not going to knock the guys on the all freshman team, but there weren't a lot of freshmen in our league. Everybody was a portal transfer, so and they weren't eligible, obviously. So I think it's great that he made it, but he's got a long ways to a lot of room for improvement to grow offensively, but defensively and from a competitive standpoint. I've had other coaches say, God dang, he's pretty good, isn't he? And I said, yeah, he is. He's a good player. He just hadn't had as many opportunities. And I feel the same way about Zach too. If Zach had played the whole year, he'd been on the team too. So those two have a chance. All three of them have a chance. Bobby obviously didn't get a chance to show it at all, but all three of those guys have a chance to be really good players for us.
Do you foresee using KJ situationally like he has for this season?
Yeah, I think so. I used him situationally the other day and put him in to defend the 3 and he fouled. But that's also my fault too, because I put him in there cold, and all that stuff. But I do trust him in that situation.
Even in the limited minutes, what can those guys take away from this season?
Even with limited minutes?
Yeah, just bring them
Well, I think a lot of times, if you look across America on kids that aren't projected to be, starters as freshmen and things like that, any opportunities are great experience, and you can learn from those experiences. So, we signed a recruiting class that we did not anticipate any of them starting anything like that. I probably anticipated Bobby playing quite a bit more, and maybe everybody played more in some ways, but the experience they get in the games, the question would be, should we have not played them at all and redshirted them, would be the question. And all of them were talked to about that at length, and they all wanted to contribute to the success of this team. So I certainly respect that, but that would be the one question I'd say. And if we'd had a crystal ball or something to know what would happen to, maybe Bobby having the surgery early on, even though he and his family didn't want to do that, we know that it wasn't going to heal up to allow him to play, then that would maybe be a different option that we would have taken. But he still would be playing this year if he'd had the surgery. he would just hopefully be playing now. So, but that's something that if we could go back and redo, that would be probably the thing I'd redo the most.
So can you talk about playing, getting the win with the grind, but not making shots yourself, but making Texas?
Yeah.
Finish 110.
Yeah, I've only watched the game once, but I actually thought after watching the game we played a heck of a lot better than I thought we played during the game. I thought defensively it was one of our better outings, even though we had some screw ups. But it's one of our better defensive outings, and we were much more competitive on the glass, things like that. I think Texas has a really good team. They got a really good roster, and there were some really good individual performances defensively for us. And then Jalen and David were enough to carry us, which to me is a good thing because you're going to be playing. You know, if Texas is a 4 or 5 seed or whatever they are, and you should shoot 31% and still win, that should give us at least a little bit of confidence, knowing that not everybody has to be on for us to be successful. But and I also thought we played tired. I know there was adrenaline in the building, but I didn't feel like we played near as light on our feet as what we would have maybe if we were a little bit more rested. So it was a fortunate win, but I like winning that way sometimes. I mean, my teams at Illinois won like that almost every game. We won the Big Ten and shot 42% for the year as a team. So that doesn't bother me near as much as what it may bother some people but you know, I think Jesse said we were 4 of 14 on layups to start the game or something like that. And you know, if you go 7 of 14 or 8 of 14 on layups, you know, all of a sudden it's a totally different game there as well. So it wasn't bad.
Hey, Coach, I got a couple for you. Can you hear me?
I think what they want to do is win on Thursday and then win on Friday and then play whoever we get on Saturday. But that would be an ideal situation. Yeah. But that's not the goal. Oh, is that right? Well, I know I was 5-5 against Tad Boyle as a player. So I think it means about as much as that, Gary. That's because we've all had new coaches come in, right? Does that be why? So Prom won it, and we got a new coach. I'm trying to think who else. I don't know that Lon ever won it, but he may have, huh? Excuse me? No, TCU, Tech. I don't know. So that means that it's been us or Iowa State probably in recent memory. Then would that be right? Who else is stuck in there? Oh, and Tech won it. Texas won it last year. Yeah, with Shaka. Yeah. Of course, they just had to win 2 games. All right, guys.